Hello. Welcome in, everybody. As soon as we get everybody in, we'll start with what we're doing today. And we're actually going to, since I have y'all captive and stuck at home, we're actually going to have the same warm-up every day for a while. We'll talk about what it is in a second, but right now I think I'm screen sharing with y'all just like my regular Do Now paper. So do me a favor, go to typeracer.com and make an account. Yeah, go there, make an account using your school email, and then I'll send y'all an invite to a room in a second through Google Classroom. And make your username something like relatively school appropriate. You don't have to make it your real name, but you know, school appropriate, because those usernames are going on YouTube. And once you've made that account, go ahead and check out that link that I posted in Google Classroom. I posted a private link to a TypeRacer room. Once you've made an account, go ahead and join up. And then once I have everybody in the TypeRacer room, we'll get started. We'll get started in about 2 minutes once I see people pop into the room. And then we'll talk a little bit about why. The other thing that I want to mention was I put the wrong due date on Google Classroom for the first draft of your guys' resumes. Those are actually due tonight. I just had a brain fart when I posted it because I forgot that the first day of last week was Tuesday. So when I meant to give y'all a day for it, I meant to make it due Wednesday night. So the first draft of your resume is due tonight at 10 p.m. Not yesterday. And today I'm going to give a lot more complete of an explanation in terms of how it is you want to be building that out. Are there any questions out there? I only have one person in my TypeRacer room. Okay, I got 3 people in my TypeRacer room. I got Sabrina and Joe in there. And once you log in, you might as well just stay logged in because like I said, we're going to be doing this every day for a while. We have a guest. Please make an account so that this shows me your names. I'm going to use this thing to track your progress.
Are we gonna get graded on how well we type?
Yes, straight up, yeah.
Okay.
But not a grade for your absolute speed, a grade for your improvement. Just because, and I'm gonna tell y'all an old man story while I'm at this. Typing used to be taught in schools, man. And a lot of people stopped teaching typing in schools because a lot of people of my generation just kind of grew up with computers, and they were finding that when we came in to learn how to type, we came in the first day typing like at the speeds that they thought we would be at by the end of the semester. But I found that a lot of the students who have come after me haven't been able to type at all, because instead of some of their earliest devices being things with a keyboard, their first devices were touch screens. And if you learn how to type on a touch screen first, I found that you learn how to type wrong. And now that we live in a more and more computerized world in terms of like job stuff, man, if you want to crank out a 15, 20-page paper on time, it helps to be able to type at 100 words per minute. Or if you do coding for a living, the faster you can type, the more code you can crank out. And so I want to make sure that at the bottom of y'all's resumes, you have a typing speed that you can actually brag about. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat. I got Sabrina, Arek, Joe, Jack is in the room. I'm waiting for Tatiana to make a TypeRacer account and hop in, and then we'll get started because I figured that's all we have for today. So just some pro tips on typing. And these aren't even pro tips. This is like what is demanded of you in order for you to be able to get better at typing. Just so you know, right? In order to get better at typing, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to grab my spare keyboard. Let me go grab my spare keyboard. It is paramount that you type in a home row position. That is to say that on any given keyboard, you have two keys that have nubs on them, right? You have F and you have J, yeah? And when you type, you have to make sure that your index fingers remain here on F and J, your other fingers lay out, and both of your thumbs are on the space bars. The reason for this is this gives you equal reach to all of the keys around it, right? You can reach all of the keys with the minimum motion, which is how you get faster. I don't care if you type faster hunting and pecking right now. If you keep hunting and pecking, you will top out as a maximum potential speed of maybe 50 words per minute if you were to get really good at hunt and peck. However, this is absolutely the technique that will allow you to type the fastest possible speed that you can. And so now that I got everybody in TypeRacer, I'm going to go ahead and switch my screen capture over. And for a while, every day when we come in, we're going to start the day off with some type racing. Are y'all ready to get going? Yes, no? Ready to start?
Wait, did mine work?
Yeah, everybody who's in the chat appears to be in the type race. So let's go ahead and start. Ooh, pretty fast out there. Pretty good stuff. Nice speed, Joe. It's important in the type racer thing to try and make as minimum mistakes as possible, just because they subtract from your overall speed. I made a bunch of mistakes, which is why I was only able to ring up an 89. And yeah, I think this is a pretty fun way to practice typing. You'll be amazed how much progress you can make in a month, which is why we're going to practice every day so long as we're stuck at home as part of our warm-ups until we start getting to the math stuff again. But let's do 2 more races, and then I'll do my like little lesson for the day. All right, cool. Okay. So I think that should have sent everybody back out to the last menu. Y'all ready to go again? Okay, cool. Let's go.
Mr. Rob, it's not letting me type.
That's weird.
Oh, it said something unexpected just happened because I was typing and then it just stopped.
Oh, no worries. Sometimes it'll like lose connection or whatever, and then restart you. That's fine. Just for today, I want to make sure that we're all in the same room practicing together. But in the future, I'll just have y'all like add me using your account. My username on TypeRacer is AGBMHS Robinson, just for simplicity. And then I'll use that to check your scores as we move along this month. Oh, hey, I broke 100 words per minute. Wait, do you guys see my screen cap?
Yeah, you're 113.
Yeah, if you break it, it tells you to take a test because it wants to make sure that you're not a bot. Cool. Let's do one more, and then today I'll talk about how to use Microsoft Word to the best of your ability to make a good-looking resume. It seems like it is hard to make a good-looking resume, but if you know how, there's really a trick to it. I think it's a trick that you can use to make all of your resumes look nicer. And like I said, I need a first draft of that in tonight, and then I'll give feedback, return it to you tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll have a follow-up discussion on these resumes. And then we will move on to our second topic, scholarship applications. Yeah? Okay. Okay, I just hit join. Some of y'all got started before, that's fine. Eh. Oh, 47. That's because I joined late. And just so we all know, in terms of typing, 60 is where you get to the point that you want to put that on your resume. If you can get to a point that you're typing 60 words a minute, put that at the bottom, your typing speed. Though I think it is tightest to get to 100. You can all get to 100 with about a month, maybe 45 days of practice, and you can all get to the point where you're bragging about it. Is that okay? Are there any questions there? Okay, like I said, we're going to start each day for the foreseeable future with a typing, this exact typing exercise, just so that y'all can get faster before you're sent out into the world and expected to type to survive. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how you want to format your resume so that you have a chance of them looking nice. To do that, I'm going to open up a new Word document. And we are going to make a hypothetical resume for somebody out there trying to get a job. So I'm going to change my screen cap over to my Word document. And can y'all see my Word document?
Yeah.
And then while it's in this screen, can you see where my mouse pointer is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So like I said yesterday, the reality of resumes is they should be judged based on their content, but they rarely are, simply because how pretty your resume ends up being, right? Like how beautiful it is kind of in, like, one, human psychology is fragile and people just like pretty stuff. And two, people are going to silently judge your resume based on whether or not they think you know how to use a computer. So in order to make the resume look nice, it's important that we don't leave our fonts at default. It's important that we do work in order to make the resume look nice. And so I'm going to start off by just changing the font to anything else. I think Garamond is a really nice professional looking font for resumes, though in general, try to choose a font with a serif. Do y'all know the difference between serif and non-serif fonts?
No.
Yeah, so serifs are the little tabs at the ends of letters. So just to make the comparison real clear here, share that. So serif fonts have these little nubs at the end, like the letters they come to little points, they have little decorations on every single letter. Sans serif fonts don't have those little jutting out parts, and instead the letters themselves remain smooth. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, so Microsoft Word these days defaults to Calibri, which I believe is a sans serif font. But back in the day, it used to default to Times New Roman just because Times New Roman was like the most popular font of the 1950s and 60s. And Times New Roman is one of the most famous serif fonts of all time. For whatever reason, people just have this idea in their head that serif fonts are professional and sans serif fonts are unprofessional. Go figure. Nonetheless, let me go ahead and head back to my Word document here. And here's the easiest way, in my opinion, to make sure that your your resume looks beautiful, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and I'm going to make my margins small. For whatever reason, the set margin space on Word is an inch in each direction, but we're going to go ahead and make it narrow so that we have more space to play within the Word document. And in order to make our resume, right, to make it so that the pieces are nicely laid out and to stop the, have y'all ever made a Word document and you put one thing in and it just moves everything else around and it ruins all the formatting work you did?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, I hate when that happens, especially when I'm writing a test for y'all and I'm like, okay, drop in this graph, and I drop the graph in and it just moves everything else around, and then I have to start over the formatting fight all over.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks. Here's the best way to make a resume. We're actually going to make the entire thing in a table. And it doesn't really matter how many cells you put in here. Just use way too many cells. And the nice thing about using these cells is that we can use these to lock into place the pieces that we like. And then once we're happy with the formatting, once we have made everything into these cells, all we have to do is go back and make the borders themselves white or invisible. And if you make the borders white or invisible, then it's going to make them basically disappear, but the structure of the borders will remain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, let us...
Mr. Rob, is it okay that I don't have Word, I use Google Docs?
Everything, yes. So for the most part, they're the same thing. And everything that I'm going to be doing today is going to be exactly the same as how you would do this same thing in Google Docs. So same thing, just insert a fatty like table set, and then know that we're going to be building out the resume in this table set. So let's go ahead and say that I have no resume and I'm starting over the way that I'm asking y'all to. Here is the best way to do this stuff so that, you know, your pieces of your resume are locked into place and they don't get shifted around while you work on it. I want my name to go in the top, yeah? So I'm going to select these boxes up top and I'm going to right click and I'm going to merge these cells. It's going to take it and it's going to melt all of those individual cells together, right? So that instead of it being a bunch of individual cells, it's just one big one. And now I can center my name in it and I can be like, oh, I'm this guy, I'm Eric Robinson. And again, we're going to start off by trying to make this look nice as we go along. Make that big, set the font to Garamond so that it's something nice. And that is my first set of information. Now I'm going to go down to the next line and I'm going to merge these cells as well. And in this line, I'm going to put my contact information. I'm going to put my phone number, which is this. And again, we'll just make the whole thing Garamond to start off. We can go back and try a second font later. And then, of course, after that, I also want my email, which is fakeemail@email.com. Is that okay for these first two bits?
Oh, you don't put your home address?
No, that's weird. Honestly, your job interviewer doesn't need to know where you live up until they're like cutting you paychecks. So that's typically not necessary contact information.
Oh, because Mr. Softly told us to. Yeah, so I put mine too.
You know, it takes all kinds. There might be cases where you would use it where you wouldn't, but I've never put my physical address on there. Yeah, I mean, usually it might come up during the interview just because employers, depending on like what kind of professional title you're seeking, they might like pay you to move or whatever, like a relocation fee. And if they know you live nearby, sometimes that's attractive, you know, because they know that if you already live nearby, they're not going to have to help you with your moving and relocation costs. So that would be a case in which you might want to include your address if you know that you already live nearby your future employer. Question?
Yeah. How did you merge the cells again?
Yeah. So all you do is you select the whole region, and then you right-click and you hit Merge Cells.
Got you.
Tight. And so for this next part, right, for this next cell, I'm going to select straight across, and I'm going to select all that. I'm going to hit Merge Cells again, and I'm going to put my objective in here. And so I like money because it allows me to pay my rent and purchase food to eat. This is where you would type in your objective and all that good stuff. And now here's why the merging of cells is nice for the organization in laying out your resume, right? Let's say that I want all of my titles and whatnot to be lined up with each other when I'm done. So instead of merging all of the cells, instead I'm going to, oh, and by the way, if you don't know, the way that I undid all of that was by mashing Control Z. It's the shortcut for undo. Nonetheless, let's say I merge all of the cells except this furthest left one. So now in the furthest left one, I can go ahead and type in my title, objective, and I can make it, you know, a little fancier so that it stands out. Let's say I bold it. Let's say I make it just a tiny bit bigger than what's about to come after. And then after that, I can put, I like money because it allows me to pay rent and eat food, right? Now in here, I can type in my whole objective. And because they are separated into different cells, oh, might have to fix that. Because they are separated into different cells, you can, it doesn't like when I type one big long word. Since I type them into different cells, the reformatting of this table shouldn't affect the box that says table, and you can make it so that from here forward, all of your title boxes line up nice and clean. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so from here forward, for all of the other categories that we talked about that need to be on your resume, we can kind of outline the whole thing in these grids before we get rid of the visible grids themselves. So here I'm going to insert one fat merge cell just so that there's a gap between our objective. And then what should come next in our resume
Let's see. Let me pull up mine real quick.
Do your experience?
Actually, up next should be education.
Gotcha.
So up next is going to be education. And here's another hot pro tip I want to show y'all in Microsoft Word. Let's say that you're like working on something and you're like, oh, this has a specific font and size and boldness to it, and I want all of my titles to be the same. Did y'all know that you don't have to put that in manually? Check this out. You can select some piece of text, right? And this button right here, this paintbrush, and for those of you following along in Google Docs, the same thing is there, except I think for copyright reasons, they had to turn it into a roller instead of a paintbrush, but it's the same idea. Click that format painter, and it's going to copy paste not the text, but the formatting. So now when I take that and I paste it over this, pop, it automatically turns it into the same font size, and the same bolding.
Never seen that.
Yeah, Format Painter is excellent. And now that I've done that here for education, again, for the sake of keeping this formatting nice, let's go ahead and check this out, how I keep my education stuff in nice, clean rows. I'm going to merge not all of the cells all the way across. I'm going to merge these cells here in the middle. I'm going to merge those guys. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to merge these cells, these guys. And I'm going to leave this one alone off here to the side, right? So what I'm going to type in here is my current degree, which I'm getting at Cal State LA. I'm getting an MS in physics. And then here I would type out the description of all of this stuff. I'm very smart. I do the physics. And then down below, I could type in the proper description of all the stuff that I had learned. And for those of y'all working on your resumes at home, I would recommend this is a good place to brag about your AP classes, brag about the clubs that you were officers or highly participatory in. So I learned about mechanics. I learned about relativity. I learned about statistical mechanics. I learned about modeling in Python or whatever. It's laid out nicer in my actual resume. But the reason why I'm leaving this box here off to the right is that this is how I make it so that you can have the dates all lined up nicely in their own column, because again, this is built into this table. So over here to the right, I can say, oh, this was from, well, I guess I started school 2018. So this is fall 2018 up through spring 2020. And again, I could, over here on the right where all these are lined up, pull this out so that this is nice and clean and aligned. And it will automatically align with all of the other right-hand tables that I use to describe my education or my dates of employment for various jobs. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so then down here, I also went to UCLA, where I got my BS in physics. And again, I'm very smart. I do the physics. I learned basically the same stuff, except now everything I'm doing is the same again, but a higher difficulty. So just because this isn't my actual resume, I'll just be lazy and copy paste down. Don't do that in your own. And then there I went there from fall 2008 to spring 2012. I took a decade in between because I was working. And now that's good. That's the education part. And then the same thing down below. Up next would come our work experience. So I'll insert a full line break. I'll merge all those cells. And then here I'll put in my work experience. I don't feel like redoing the formatting again manually. So again, this is a great time to use Format Painter. Hit up that work experience with the Format Painter. I'm going to merge these cells because this is where I'm going to put my descriptions. And then of course, if you run out of rows, all we have to do is hit an insert row below. And the nice thing about doing an insert row below is that it will automatically keep the spacings all the same. So here now I can start talking about my work experience. So I was a high school teacher man from when I graduated here up until I went back to grad school. So 2012 through, fall 2012 through spring 2018. And again, you know, the nice thing about these being in tables is that if you want to keep them aligned, they all stay aligned together. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Cool. And the reason why I think this is the coolest way to build it out is because if you do it with bullet points or whatever, and you start messing around with the bullet point options, the bullet points will all push each other around and like break each other. The nice thing about this is that it stays neatly aligned the whole way top to bottom. And then in the end, all we have to do to make this ready to go is make the tables themselves invisible. So we go up here to design. And when it comes to borders, I'm going to change my borders. Sorry. See how all of these options are here for the table? And this one right here is no borders. No borders. The table is still there in terms of like what Microsoft Word understands about what is going on in this document, but it'll just appear like, oh, look, I have a nice, clean, laid out document. You export it as a PDF, and the person reading it thinks that you know how to use computers really well, which is, you know, step one to getting a job.
Mr. Robert,
okay?
I got a question.
Yeah.
So I did mine a little differently. I went on Google Docs like a while back because like I used this resume to get a job and I just got hired. But as I was using
wait,
this resume,
so you already used your resume to get a job?
yeah, like very recently, so I just got hired.
Oh, and you just got hired, so that's an instant pass. So that means your resume worked. So you passed the assignment. So go on.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I use like a template from before that's like automatically like set on Google Docs, and then just obviously change up the information to be mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So that is good. That does work. But and you'll notice that when I posted the assignment, I also posted a website out there that would have a bunch of different pre-made templates that you could use. However, go ahead and take a wild guess in terms of what dangers might lie in that strategy.
Everyone uses them.
Yeah, if everybody uses the same resume template and a reader is getting the same resume again and again and again, that really blows the whole illusion that the resume should convey of like, oh, hey, the person who did this, they really know how to use computers. They're good at Microsoft Word. If they get a bunch of the same ones, they'll know that they're all from the exact same template. Of course, this is, you know, like a paranoid thought that I'm prone to having.
Point, though.
Yeah, at the very least, if you're going to use a resume, be sure to also mix it up. Change some of the spacing, change some of the fonts and whatnot so that it doesn't look identical. But you saw here what I was able to do with the tables that it's actually not that much work to make effectively your own template.
Yeah.
Insert tables, use the tables in order to mix the spacing around. And then when you're done, make the table have no borders. And then if you need to go back and like make it editable, all you have to do is go back and put the table walls back in, and you can mix your template up again.
Mr. Rob, I have a question.
Yes?
For work experience, why did you write high school teacher men?
Oh, because it's all fake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like to show, for example.
Also, I have my own resume that was a Google Docs template. Could I send that to you to ask like if that's good enough?
Oh yeah, no, of course. So if you already have a resume, then you have the easiest like job in the world for this first pass at the homework. Just send me that, and then I will be going over them and editing them one at a time as I have time in the afternoons. And then once I edit it, there's a thing I can do in Google Classroom where I'll hit return assignment and it'll just hand it back to you. And that's how you know that I've taken a crack at editing it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and also just know that like I won't be recording anybody's personal information if you happen to put your real emails or phone numbers in it. But of course, if you want to leave that stuff out, you don't have to put that in there for the assignment version of this. Just put the content in there so that I can edit the content.
Okay.
Oh, but Mr. Rob, I uploaded a picture of my resume.
You what?
I uploaded a picture of my resume.
Nah, dog, I need the file. I need it in an editable format so that I can give feedback.
Okay, I see it.
Do you still have the file?
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. Don't worry.
All right, good. And just a hot pro tip, the screen share is still just my Word document, right?
Yeah.
Let me switch over my screen share real quick. Actually, I won't do that. I'm just going to talk for a second here about what I recommend that you do. I highly recommend that all of you, once you have this resume down, make a folder in your Google Drive, not on your computer, but make sure it is somewhere cloud-based so that you have access to it if your computer were to be stolen or catch on fire or were to have an entire cup of tea spilled into it, causing it to short out, also destroying the hard drive. Like when it comes to those important documents, make sure that you have multiple backups of them in the cloud so that you have access to them no matter what. Once you are done with this resume, like right away, do it right now on your computers. Make a folder in that Google Drive called Employment and Resume, or just Employment, because it is important to keep track of this along with all of your other important employment documentation. It is a nightmare to not have that stuff when you need it. So past your resume, what other employment type documentation do you think you might need to toss in there?
Volunteering.
Like work validation.
Yeah, so whatever paperwork you have from your work, so your W-2s that you get back every year when you do your taxes, or all of your employment contract paperwork, so you'll never know when that stuff might be easy. Here's some other good stuff to get in there. If you collect letters of recommendation for use in certain circumstances, it's nice to keep those on file so that if you ever need all of your letters of rec ready to go in one place, you can have that there. The other thing that you should keep in there are test scores. So for right now, y'all don't have that many professional tests that matter, right? Things like the SAT or whatever. But as you move along, you'll find that other jobs require those same professional test scores. So for example, if you're getting into graduate school, you might need a GRE score. Or to get into law school, you might need an LSAT score. But you will find that when you then attempt to get those professional jobs, employers will also want to see those scores. Your employment and resume folder in Google Drive is also a good place to keep test scores from those professional type tests. The other thing that I would recommend that you put in there is if you have any professional headshots, like portraits or whatever, it's also a good thing to keep in there. Just because some job application processes will require that you upload a headshot, and it's nice to have a nice, clean, professional one. And you'll also want something like that for your LinkedIn. Are there any questions out there about resumes or about how to build it?
Not really.
No? Okay. I felt bad that yesterday I didn't give very much guidance about how exactly it is you should build it in Word, which is why I gave y'all some guidance. And like I said, that first draft is due tonight. You should have plenty of time since you're all stuck at home, and I'm glad to see that I already got 5 of them in. Yeah, I got 5 of them in already. I guess those are probably people who already had a draft and ready to go.
Mr. Robinson?
Yeah.
Instead of an objective, if we have like a summary statement, is that okay too, or does it have to be like very specific and objective?
It has to be an objective. And this is a thing I talked about yesterday, but I'm glad to mention it again. Your objective should be different every single time you apply for a job. Your whole resume is going to be the same every single time that you submit it, but this part, the objective, that you should typically tailor to the job in question. So like when I'm using my resume to apply to lab jobs and when I'm using my resume to apply to high school teaching jobs, what my objective is very different, and the person reading it wants to see that your objective matches the position.
Okay, so for now, since we're not like specifically applying, obviously we're sending it to you for like a revision.
Yep.
What should we write for it, kind of?
Keep it vague. Keep it super vague. So be like, let me kind of read you mine so that you have an idea of like what really you want in there. Keep it vague for now, but there are things in there that you want to reference of like, hey, I'm excited to be part of the so-and-so team, or whatever the case may be. Just leave blanks in there for that stuff. So my personal statement reads, or sorry, my objective reads out something like, I'm a current physics graduate student and high school teacher. I recently returned to my teaching position while continuing graduate school part-time, and I will graduate on time in spring 2020. My passion is teaching science, but I returned to graduate school last year to transition my career into the laboratory. I now have new mathematical and computational abilities that I'm ready to put to the test. Additionally, I think that my teaching experience has made me into a good science communicator. I'm prepared to work and learn as part of the JPL team, or whatever team it is that you're applying to. So be confident, make a statement about yourself, and then at the end, just leave that part blank. Just be like, oh, I'm ready to be part of the whatever team. Please give me a job.
Okay, for sure.
It's a really good question. Yeah, keep it vague, but know that before you ever use this thing to apply anywhere, you'll do a touch-up of that box.
Right.
Any other questions out there? No? Okay.
Will you be on Smash today?
What time are y'all playing?
Depends. It'll like be sometime during the day if you want.
Word. Whose account did I add? Who's just 3 J's and 3 A's? Who switches that?
It's Jack.
Word. Okay. I'll take a look. All I've been playing lately is Pokemon. It'd be nice to mix it up.
For sure. Let me know.
Yeet.
All right.
Anyway, y'all have a nice day. I'll stop it here, and I'll upload this to YouTube along with yesterday's video, which is already up. Like I said, if you have time, go to that YouTube link, subscribe and like. And if you ever miss a lesson or want to go over something again, like that format painter tooltip, it'll be there in YouTube. Just scroll through. Anyway, I'll see y'all tomorrow. You have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Have a good one.
I have one question.
Oh, yeah?
For the resume, it's not allowing me to put the one that I already have that's saved on Google Docs. So I copy pasted it into a new Google Docs, but now between my title and the first
Yeah, I said that happened to
thing,
me too. Just play with it. It'll fix up.
no, it left an entire page just empty, and I
Yeah.
can't get rid
That
of
happened to me too. Now go back on your actual Google Doc and then copy and paste thing, just the title or whichever piece is missing, and then plug it back in once you move everything back up to the top. That's what I did.
All right.
Mr. Rob.
Yep.
I turned mine in, like I copied it and then I put it as a Google Doc and I send it to you. But if it doesn't give you access, can you just let me know so like I figure out a different way to turn it in? I did it from Google Docs, so I think you should have access.
Yeah, I believe if you turn it in through Google Docs, yeah, I have access to edit it, and it looks pretty good, except I can tell that you made it with the regular, like, listing tools, right?
Yeah, I just did it freehand.
Yeah, the main thing that I'm going to tell you to do is I'm going to ask you to remake it using tables.
Okay.
But it does look good. It's a really good first pass. It's good that you have all the information there. But yeah, I think the thing that you could do to take it to the next level is to lay it out in tables.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. So you're posting how you did the tables thing on YouTube too, right? Just because I didn't get every step.
Yeah, so you just insert a table, put the pieces into the table, and then merge them in order to make tables bigger or smaller. But yeah, I'll post a replay of this lesson on YouTube, so you'll be able to check it out there. Be sure to hit like and subscribe.
Okay, thank you. Have
Okay?
a good
Yeah, you too. Y'all have a nice day. Stay sane.
Have a good one.